everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of the Flow University YouTube channel. How do you battle fear and overcome those limiting obstacles that is preventing you from a potential unlimited growth that could lead to an expansion within yourself and might lead to further discoveries of yourself? In today's episode, I'll be giving away 5 keys for you, the viewer, to use in aiding you to battle this mechanism that is currently limiting modern society and has limited human beings in the past. This episode is very important for you, the viewer. I will be keeping it very raw for you guys, as in order for you to truly understand this very limiting factor, there can be no punches withheld. Stay open. Make sure that you are aware and that you are able to discern and that you digest the information, knowledge, and wisdom I will be imparting to you guys. I hope you guys are ready for this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. How do you battle fear? Let's get started. They have chosen cunning instead of belief. Their prison is only in their minds. Yet they are in that prison and so afraid of being taken in that they cannot be taken out. C.S. Lewis, The Last Battle. This goes into key number 1. You want to learn how to fight, but you don't just want to learn how to fight in the physical plane of existence, but you also want to learn how to fight mentally and spiritually as well. This first key in battling fear is extremely important because a lot of times individuals get a inherent essence of fear because they feel helpless. And so what learning self-defense, what learning a martial art, what learning a way to defend and protect yourself will do is it'll let go of that helplessness that a lot of individuals feel. And you'll be able to have a sense of autonomy within yourself when you go out into the external environment, when you go out into society. A lot of times people, that fear elicits themselves because they're unsure about what other individuals will do to them. And so this is a lot of times what bullies take advantage of. Bullies take advantage of their size, their physical prowess, and a lot of times their aggressive personality. And so what a lot of times what's going on in modern society is that the individual is being, quotation marks, bullied. And so what learning how to fight will start in the physical plane, with learning how to fight in the physical plane by learning martial art, by learning self-defense, by learning how to use a weapon. What this will do for you is that when individuals get aggressive, when individuals try to use their size or their aggressiveness or their more demeaning natures to oppress and restrict you, you're able to fight back against that. And you're able to step back and be like, okay, I know what this person is doing, but I have an ability to defend myself. I have an ability to stand up for myself. And so you'll be able to still interact with these people. There's individuals out here with crazy egos. There's people out here that think they're deities and they're gods and that they've been placed in certain positions and that they're entitled to this and they're entitled to that, and that they even view people as less than human. And so when you begin to engage with individuals like this, a lot of times it's that they've crafted these egos because inside of themselves, they're extremely insecure. And so they create this ego in order to mask their insecurities. And so a lot of times, all you need to do is you just need to stand up for yourself, and then immediately their insecurities will surface and they'll back down. And so a lot of times when you look out in nature and you see dominance displays from animals, what will happen is that the supposed individual who's trying to challenge the alpha, they'll elicit a response of grandizement. They'll puff up, they'll bare their flanks, and they'll show how aggressive and big they are. And a lot of times what the alpha will do is the alpha won't immediately respond. What the alpha will do is the alpha will take a second, gauge the reaction from the challenger, and then the alpha will respond. And so for you, the individual, what learning how to fight will do for you is it will take away the illicit and the ability of you to be the aggressor. A lot of times, individuals that don't know how to fight, individuals that don't know how to manage themselves, their emotions, and how to control themselves, they immediately get mad. They immediately give into their emotions. They immediately give into instinct, and they immediately try to demean the person, and they try to restrict, and they try to come over the person. And so what learning how to do this will do for you is it'll give you a sense of calm, it'll give you a sense of peace, and it'll give you a sense of clarity, and you'll be able to think within the situation. It'll actually give you a leg up over the individuals that are seeking to do this to you. And so a lot of times when individuals identify strongly with their egos is that they need certain strokes of the ego. So they need to be in certain status positions, or they need to have a certain number in their bank account, or they need certain things in place in order for them to give the validity to the external egoic character that they're displaying. And so anytime any of these markers change, that's when the internal aspects of themselves begin to go into a state of chaos. And then they have to re-get things back into what they were before, so that whatever it is that they have perceived themselves to be can stay within that. And so it's only a matter of perception. And so when individuals do this to you, you can immediately destroy it. And so this is really a superpower. You can really just cut down whenever someone tries to do this to you. And so keep that level head, keep that calmness, but learn how to fight so that your calmness and your coolness and your demeanor has some backing up to it. You don't want to be a good man is a dangerous man. A good man, and someone who's kind, and someone who's truly has true morals and ethics within themselves, is there's someone who's capable of swinging to the other side of the pendulum. And so you're placing that restriction, you're placing that restraint on yourself. No one is placing it on you. When someone else places restraint, when other people places limitedness to you, when other people oppress you, those are the people in power. Those are people in authority. Those are people you place sovereignty over your life. But when you do it to yourself, that's when you place sovereignty over yourself. And you can even do this with God. God can become the sovereignty over your life. That's fine. But when you do it to another human, you place human on top of the ranks of deities. And when that happens, that's when you see a lot of the chaos that has happened in human existence, in human history. So don't allow this to happen to you. And this is what's going on in modern society. Within modern society, there's a lot of individuals that they've believed and they've propped themselves to be these things based off of arbitrary markers that as society has deemed as valuable. But these arbitrary markers are subjective because they're always ever changing. They're always flowing. So 1 second they're this, and the next second they're that, and the next second this happens, and the next second that happens. And so they're all over the place. And so when you're able to subject yourself on absolute markers, that's when that character, and that's when that true essence within yourself can be held on as true, and it can allow you to maneuver through society and be solid within yourself, and that core never changes. But when your core is predicated off of subjective markers, that's when it ebbs and flows. So learn how to fight in the physical realm, and then it can help you in the more mental and spiritual realms. So going into the mental realm now, there's a lot of mental warfare that's going on within modern society. And so what you'll see a lot of times is that within learning how to fight mentally is, we'll go into fitness for a second. So let's say you're trying to lose weight, and let's say you go to the gym, and a lot of times you can't control a lot of things that is going on in the external environment, but you can control yourself. And so learning how to fight mentally, this will help you to control yourself, how to control your emotions. And so let's say you go to the gym and you're sitting down, you're working out, and they have the TVs on. And so a commercial comes up for Wendy's, and you're trying to lose 10 pounds, but every time you go out, you're seeing influences from these external things. So learning how to fight mentally is, okay, the external influence has entered into my conscious awareness, but I'm choosing to battle it and not allow it to influence me. So this is what will increase your will. There's a lot of conversations going on within academia with scientists, and they argue that free will either does exist or doesn't exist. And so there's a middle ground here, because every person is born with a certain amount of will, and every single person is being influenced by the external environment. But you can increase your will, and increasing your will comes from challenging yourself. It comes from doing things that you haven't previously done before. It comes from broadening your scope, broadening your awareness. It comes from building that mental toughness, that's mental fortitude. This is what David Goggins is doing. This is what some of those other guys you see doing, these crazy endurance things, these crazy feats of physical prowess. They're testing their will, they're testing their limits, and this can even stem into the mental realm. And Every single episode I'm doing is working towards something. And so in the last episode, I talked about how you can connect the mind and the body. And so once you connect the mind and the body and you've built that physical will, now you can build that mental will as well. And so this will help you to not be at the mercy of what's going on in the external environment. And so that you can have that choice and you can have free will and you can have the will in order to choose and to say, okay, do I want to do this or not do that? And so for you individuals that are going on a pathway of development and discovery, this will give you the ability to say no to some of the influences that is happening within current society. Current society wants to brainwash you and wants to leave you at the mercy of not having free will, because it makes it easier for you to extenuate resources to whoever wants the resources from you, and you get to engage on whatever platform or in whatever mechanism that they want you to engage in. This is the problem with social media. A lot of individuals, it's programming you to continually to go back. That's the issue with drugs. This is how individuals become addicted to things. And so by increasing your will, it increases the ability for you to say no to certain things, even not things predicated on your journey of discovery and development, but also in dealing with some of these new technologies. And if you're trying to let go of certain bad habits, I've had many bad habits in the past. I used to struggle with pornography. I used to struggle with smoking weed. I used to struggle with, I'm not very good at handling my finances. And so what building my will is, it makes you take a step back and makes you go, okay, let me stop. Let me not continue to allow this to affect me. And it gives you the ability for free will. But when you forget, or when you believe that free will doesn't exist, then you're essentially at the mercy of whatever be. And from there, you can see no progress. You can see no development. You're essentially damned to fate. And I do not want this to happen to anyone. You can always grow and develop in the mental and the spiritual aspects of yourself. Will is a very spiritual thing. And so when you begin to work on your will, when you begin to develop your will and increase your will, you're increasing your spiritual prowess. And when you increase your spiritual prowess, now this can aid you in the mental realm and the physical realm as well. And so I might make an episode coming up in the future, how you can increase and how you can control your will. But this is what you want to do. Then this is very deep, because everyone has a different type of personality, but personality isn't predicated on the ability for one to lead, or predicated on one's ability to conquer. And this went into why I wrote key number 1 into being why you want to learn how to fight, is because also your ability to navigate and to relate to the external environment. And so what increasing your will do for you is it gives you power. It gives you something for where you feel true and you feel strength within yourself. And I made a video a long time ago that there's different types of strength. And so a lot of individuals in today's society, they're predicated just on the superficial aspects of oneself. They're focused on beauty. They're focused on aesthetic. They're focused on strength in terms of what your numbers are. And you see this a lot of times in gym culture. You see a lot of gym bros, and they're just worried about what their numbers are. And so, but strength is a very internal thing. And so this is where you see toxic masculinity come from, is because you'll see guys who've identified with the ego and they're physically strong and they think that they are strong, but mentally they're weak. I've seen incredible women who had some of the most incredible bouts of mental strength and will I've ever seen. And I've seen guys who on the outside level look strong, but mentally they'll break like this. And so you want to learn how to fight. And if you can learn how to fight, this will take you tremendously far. And this will allow you not to fall prey to those external influences that might be limiting some of you right now. And going into key number 2 is you want to engage in conflict mentally and spiritually. And so what modern society has done to the individual is modern society has placed the individual within a cocoon. And within the cocoon, most of the times when you see a caterpillar go into the cocoon leads to growth and development. But within the cocoon of modern society, we have individuals who literally live in boxes, but there's no development that is going on within it. And so what's going on is that individuals are running from conflict. They're running from debates. They're running from arguments, because what is going on within modern society is that the individual wants to look good for others. And so the individual can't look good for others if the individual is always right, or if the individual is wrong, or if the individual displays themselves in a negative manner. And by negative, I mean in a manner in which others don't agree with them. And so this is why so many individuals are afraid to go against the mode, is because when you go against the mode, other people are going to dislike you. But there can only be progress when individuals are willing to challenge others. That is really the point of conversation, for us to come together and connect, to see what we have learned within our adventures, within our experience, within our seeking, within our attempt to understand what's going on. And within that, when there is discourse, when there is a disconnection, the purpose of debate, arguments, and conflict is for us to figure out a common ground where there can be understanding. But so many individuals do not want to do this within modern society. So many individuals immediately give into their ego and immediately give into the viewpoint and the frame point that this other person is their enemy and that they are not like them. And when you believe that someone is not like you, then you are more likely to view them as something less than human. And when you view them as something less than human, this is where you get the Holocaust. This is where you get the genocide. This is where you get racism. This is where you get discrimination. And so you don't want this to happen. And so by the ability to come to the table and having even difficult conversations, this will allow the individual to see where they are wrong. And a lot of times within modern society, the individual, I told you guys I was being real raw today. A lot of times individuals do not want to be wrong, and the individual has to accept that there is a possibility that you can be wrong. Even if you have gone on a incredible adventure, you have not even discovered maybe even a fraction of all there is to learn within existence. In order for you to know everything, you would have to take on everything. And no one can take on everything unless you're God. And no one is God. If you were God, you would not be here. If you get what I'm saying. And so by engaging in conflict, this can help you to grow because you're able to take on different viewpoints, different perspectives, and you're able to see where you're wrong and you're able to see your blind spots. A lot of times what conflict will do is conflict will help you to identify where you are weak, where you need to work on. I was playing basketball not too long ago, and I realized that I in the past I was pretty bad at basketball. Like I can't shoot, but I know I can't shoot. And by me playing games with people and realizing such a hole in my game, I was able to see I have to do something with not being able to shoot. I can't shoot threes. And so I realized that, okay, if I can't shoot threes, maybe I can do something else. Maybe I can do a jump shot. Maybe I can do fadeaways. Maybe I'll work on my passing game. And so you're still able to work on your game, and your game is still able to become more dynamic. But most individuals, they don't become dynamic. They stay one-dimensional because they're not willing to engage in conflict. And so for you fitness guys, for you sports individuals, when you want to expand your growth to tremendous levels, engaging in conflict will help you. Not just, and again, this isn't just physically, this is mentally and spiritually as well. A lot of individuals, this is where you get ideologies. A lot of individuals, the reason they prescribe to ideologies is because they don't want to take on, or they don't want to have conversations, or they don't want to believe that they're possibly wrong. And so when you're unwilling to do this, you stay stuck. You stay one-dimensional. And after this point, you're never able to get to any greater level of understanding because you think your level of understanding is correct. But there's individuals with higher levels of understanding. And then if you're really that spiritual, you think there's beings with higher levels as well. So you can't possibly have the full scope if you are unwilling to have a conversation with someone else, because this is the problem with fear. Right? Going back to the episode, fear is always there. And individuals aren't willing to accept that they're afraid of being wrong. That they're afraid that there's a possibility that everything they believed or they thought is completely false. But you have to have courage that even if everything you believed is false, that you'll still be all right on the other end. That it's willing to step into the darkness. It's willing to step into the unknown. Because we as humans, we can't make progress as a species if we're not willing to do that. This is why before there can be tremendous progress, there's usually a step back, because individuals want to hold on. They want to hold on to the past. They want to hold on to the good times. But when has there ever been a good time for humanity? Yeah, good times existed for a select few humans. if you existed in maybe the 1%, maybe the 10%. And in modern society is good for maybe the majority of people, but people will argue that, humanity has progressed so much, but they fail to see the suffering, the true suffering of all the other individuals. This is the problem with some of high-level academics and high-level people in certain industries. They're so high up, they're so at the top of where they're at, that they don't see the suffering of others. They don't see what's going on at the ground level. And a lot of times this happens with individuals when they stay in their tight cocoon, is because you begin to paint pictures of the world based off of you not being in the thick of it, you not seeing what the thick of it is. In the last episode, I said that you want to step back from being in the thick of it. But when it comes to battling fear, the reverse has to happen. So there's always a yin and a yang. There's always a aspect where you have to engage in both. There has to be balance. And so you can't always be in the thick of it. You can't always be in conflict. This is going into the mental as well, because some people, they're always doing mental battles. They're always engaging with the mind in detrimental ways, and it leads them on these merry-go-rounds that end up going full circle and back to the same endpoint or conclusion that they've gotten beforehand. And so they're too much in the thick of it. And so when you want to connect the mind and body, sometimes taking a step back will allow you to connect it. But in today's episode, I'm telling you to do the opposite. Some people, they never go into the mental realm. They never engage with bouts of intellectual prowess. They're afraid to question things. They're afraid to try to ask these deep questions. And so you have to have that balance. And so you want to engage, and not just engaging with yourself, engaging with others and engaging with people. I listen to a lot of YouTube videos, and I read books, and I read research articles, and I'm not afraid. Even when I disagree with someone, I will hear their entire point, because like I said in the last episode, you can learn from all things in existence. And I have to, and when you truly, when you're on an adventure of seeking, what you have to be able to do is, even with someone who you completely disagree with, you have to have a aspect of your mind that says there's a possibility that this person could be right and I could be completely wrong. And it's really a coin flip, because they've lived their perspective and they've gone through their things and they've gone through their experience, and I've gone through mine, and we're coming together. And so they might be seeing things from a certain perspective that I might not be seeing it from. And so at the very least, I have to hear them out. I have to let them say their piece. And then from there, I can come to my conclusions. Then from there, I can begin to discern. But individuals in modern society do not do this at all. This is the problem with cancel culture. And at least in the past, like humans, when you canceled someone, you were stringing someone up on a tree, or we were burning people, and where was the mob? Like, where are the mobs at in modern society? Like, we don't have mobs going on. Like, someone will say something on Twitter, on Instagram, people disagree with them. Oh, you're canceled. Oh, we cancel you. You're canceled. Go mob, where's the mob at? Be entertaining at least with it if you're going to do it. But just canceling someone and then at least not hearing them out. Like, at least in the past, they used to put them up on a display, and then before they locked their head off, they would be like, any last words? Like, y'all don't even do that. Y'all don't even listen to them. Like, it's like, come on now, y'all gotta be stronger than that. You gotta be able to, because then when it gets to the point where you're possibly wrong, and then you go down loopholes and road tracks where it's becoming detrimental, where is the checks and balances? There needs to be a checks and balances to it. If there's no checks and balances, that's why in the government, there's not just the presidency, there's a Congress and the Supreme Court. They check and balance each other. Now, there is corruption still going on, but at the very least, there is some type of system. But if there's no system going within yourself for the checks and balance system going out within society, then this is where we lead to very bad endpoints. And there's a podcaster, his name's Larry, his first name's Larry, I forget his last name, but the name of the podcast is Ideas Have Consequences. And ideas do have consequences. Like what led to the Holocaust, what led to what happened in Rwanda, what led to Afghanistan. Bad ideas have consequences. So in order to stop bad ideas from infecting society, there has to be a checks and balance system. But that can only happen when there's conflict. That can only happen when there's debates, arguments, and there's uncomfortable conversations. And so for you in the fitness industry, this is very important, because individuals now, this is how you stop yourself from falling prey to the individuals, the businesses that don't care about you. That's why you have a checks and balance system, so that you can stop and you can sit back and you can go, okay, what are the right products? What are the right ingredients that should be in supplements? But if you view your worldview as 100% right, you're unwilling to have that conversation. There's nothing, I'm using this as an example, but you'll think that ashwagandha is like God's gift to the earth. But then like a new research article could come out 2 weeks from now and like ashwagandha is like, it does nothing for you. Or it only does something for like 1 or 2% of the population. But for everyone else, it's like you pretty much just eat a banana or something. But if you have that worldview, you're unwilling to have dialogue with anyone that views anything different from ashwagandha being literally God's gift to the earth. And so you have to be willing to engage. If you're not willing to engage, then you end up in very dark places. I've seen people where they have certain worldviews and it's led them to certain conclusions. And this is how people end up bitter. This is how people end up resentful. This is how people get pent up with hatred, right? Because this is how dangerous this is. Let's say, and I see this all the time in the fitness industry. I see all the time that like bodybuilders like hate powerlifters and powerlifters hate bodybuilders. And then like there's this weird thing going on with where everyone hates CrossFitters, but like if we were in nature, CrossFitters would literally be the only ones hunting and doing all the hard work. And then the same thing going on with like Olympic weightlifters. It's this weird thing where every person thinks that their tribe and their worldview and what they're engaging with is like the supreme thing. But like fitness encompasses all of it. And so it can't be the supreme thing if each person views it as supreme. So you have to learn from everything. You have to learn from all different aspects. And this is what I've done. And it's taking me to tremendous levels of understanding with the mind, the body, and the spirit. I can't even articulate it through the use of the English language, what I have been able to do, not just with my body. I have access to movements and certain proudnesses of strength, and I can do certain things that certain individuals would dream of. And not just physically, mentally as well. I'm taking like IQ tests and all these things. Like there's so much that's out there that you can do. But if you're unwilling to do it, you'll never see any progress. Everyone loves Kobe Bryant. Everyone like he's been on like the last 3 2K albums but no one thinks like him. No one truly understands Mamba mentality. Mamba mentality is willing to do whatever it takes. You leave no bars unhold. You leave nothing unchecked. You truly go all in. And so you have to be willing to go all in. But you can't say you're going all in and you can't even have a simple conversation with anyone. Don't let that fear restrict you. Don't let that fear limit you. This goes into key number 3. You want to think for yourself. And so a lot of individuals, they prescribe to the herd. They prescribe to what everyone else thinks. And this isn't me telling you to believe that you're different from other people. This isn't me to believe that and begin to look at other people as an us versus them mentality, because this just creates the exact same problem. But what you want to begin to understand is that not everyone thinks the same. And so when not everyone thinks the same, people have different thoughts, different opinions, different beliefs, different ideas. The problem is that no one wants to voice these things. And so what prescribing to the herd is doing is you're giving into fear because you don't want to seem different. You don't want to seem like the weirdo, but everything that's going on is weird. So we're all weirdos. Like, it's interesting to me how individuals go through high school and they get out of high school, but they stay at that level of development. And I don't know about you guys, I'm 25, but like high schoolers, while some of them are bright and some of them are pretty smart, they have zero world experience. And while some of them have gone through things, you haven't gone through that much. And so a lot of them, they begin to create classifications for people. Oh, these are the cool people. These are the smart guys. These are the geeks. These are the nerds. These are the jocks. These are the athletes. And so they create compartmentalizations, and they create simplistic viewpoints and characterizations of people, characters that they've got off of movies or they've read or they've seen. And then they have these things in their mind and they paint them out and they simplify beings, multidimensional beings, off of societal norms, right? And when you do this and you hold on to this viewpoint, this places you, like going back to past, this places you in a box, because then you identify with that and then you try to stay within that type of thinking because everyone else is thinking the same. And then if you try to think differently, everyone looks at you and is like, no, I don't think like that. And then this goes back into the second key. And then the first key, you want to learn how to fight, and you want to engage in conflict. Because doing these things, when you begin to think differently, you're able to hold on to yourself. You're able to be like, no, this is who I am. And it doesn't matter what you say, who you think you are, and what you think I was in the past. This is who I am. This is how I'm operating. This is what I think. This is what I believe. And this is how I'm going to act and behave moving forward. And you have a problem with that. This is how you battle fear. But if you don't battle fear, you'll never even get to key number 3. So do the first 2 and then you'll get to key number 3, because then you're able to see your own perspective and be like, it's okay to have this perspective. It's okay that I see myself as this unique individual with an inherent uniqueness that's within me. And you can see the blessing that is yourself. There's so many individuals that I see that they immediately demean themselves. And there was a family member and I was with them and they said like your words have power. Like what you say to yourself, that gets embedded within your subconscious. And so a lot of times individuals from their youth believe there's certain things, into their adulthood, they believe the exact same thing. And they've allowed certain individuals to say they are these things. No, you got to reject that immediately. And so a lot of times individuals, they'll have, and this is what I'm saying, like certain individuals will call you certain things in your youth, and they'll try to bully you, oppress you, restrict you. And then you believe that that's right. But what you need to do is you need to look at them. You need to be like, hey, like, I don't know about you, but like, that's completely wrong. And this is who I am. This is how I operate. And this is how I think. And you have to dare to dream, because a lot of individuals, and this is one of the major reasons I created this channel. There's so many individuals, they don't know how to dream. MLK had his famous speech, the March on Washington, that said, I have a dream. And so even if his dream didn't immediately come to fruition, his willingness to step into it and at least attempt to see it manifest within the external world has to be respected. And so when you, the individual, have a dream, there are individuals that came before you in the past that had dreams, and they dared not only to dream, they dared to step within it. And so for you, it doesn't matter what the dream is. Your dream could be, and I'm going to, excuse my language, but to hell with what everyone else says. Your dream could be, you want to be the CEO of a company. Hell yeah. You want to be a Navy SEAL. Hell yeah. You want to be a ballerina. Hell yeah. You want to go to the NFL. Hell yeah. NBA player. Hell yeah. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to put in some work, but having the dream itself, it's the purest thing. There's so many individuals there where they lose the ability to dream, and you'll ask older humans, and the only thing they really see is death, the end of their life. But this life was made and gifted to us so that we could dream, so that we could see our dreams come into fruition. But so many individuals, they give up on their dreams. They give up their dream to what society tells them this life is. Your life isn't what society tells you it is. Your life is what you decide it to be. And so if you have a dream and you decide that you're going to walk within it, then you can see it come out within this external reality. And so use the mental world to craft the dream. Think for yourself. Don't allow individuals to tell you this or tell you that. It's going to take so much away from you. You'll never really experience life. Life is such an amazing thing. And this even goes for you individuals that have achieved success. You don't have to be the model. You don't have to be the playboy. You don't have to be you can dream. There's nothing wrong with it. It's literally the most purest form of self-expression that exists. From dreaming is where it unlocks aspects of creativity that because when you dream, it is your unique representation that your mind is crafting up within yourself. And so there's no one else that can give that to you but yourself. It's literally like creativity on steroids, on crack. So dream. The only way, I remember I was thinking of how I could program myself for a powerlifting competition. This was coming up to like my first powerlifting competition. And I was thinking so much of like, what do I need to do to win? And I want to win so bad. I was dreaming of winning. I was literally dreaming of having the medal and completing the last lift. And from that dream, I was able to unlock different viewpoints and think in different perspectives. Because when you dream, sometimes you dream from seeing yourself from a first person perspective, but sometimes when you dream, you'll see yourself from different perspectives, sometimes. And so when you see yourself from different perspectives, now you're able to attack things from different angles. And when you're able to attack things from different angles, now this is where the magic happens. You stop being one-dimensional. And this goes into key number 4, leaning in versus the allowance of flow. So when battling fear, there's 2 different ways you can do it. I've been playing around with 2 different ways. I really like leaning in. And so there's certain emotions, there's certain aspects of self that individuals are afraid to confront, experience, and embrace. And so when it comes to yourself as a unique being, you have to embrace every aspect of yourself. There can be no other way. That aspect of yourself that you keep locked in, that you keep in the shadows, that you keep in the closet, like that's you. You have to accept it and you have to lean into it because society wants you to restrict that. Society wants you to submit. Society wants you to submit to the will of society. Do not submit to the will of society. If anything, submit to God because God is all. God is everything. So at least from that, at least you know there's love and joy and hope that comes from it. But all society is giving you is fear and ultimately despair and terror and horror. That's all society is giving you. So give yourself the ability, the gift of freedom. Lean in. Don't be like fear. Fear isn't what you think it is. But if you never experience it fully, you'll never understand it. You'll never understand that everything that you thought you should have been afraid of, you shouldn't have been afraid of in the first place. Like when you were younger and like everyone said that Santa Claus is real. And then you realize that Santa Claus wasn't real. And then you saw truth and you saw what's really going on. What experiencing fear will do for you is it'll give you that same experience. Oh, maybe the Grinch isn't there. Maybe it was all just in my head. It was all make-believe. And then you're able to step forward in confidence. Versus the allowance of fear is a little bit different. It's where you become detached to the fear. This is what a lot of people end up doing when they're going through very difficult circumstances. They'll check out and they'll give into instinct. There's a yin and yang to this. I have been doing the allowance of fear. The problem with the allowance of fear is that you have to let go of control. And this might be good for some of you because some individuals are control freaks. And some individuals always think that they have to have the power, that they have to hold on to things with a iron grip fist. And so what allowing things just to flow will do is it'll step back. And this will help a lot of individuals to just ebb and flow a lot easier. Because sometimes there's certain things that are just going to happen and there's nothing you can do to prevent it. And so what allowing flow will do for you is allow it just to move through you. And you can be aware, you can be cognizant of it, but you can never transcend fear. It's always there. You can't ignore it. You can act like it's not there. You can be like it's not present, but it's always there. It's like death. Like death is always there. Every single entity on the planet will experience death except God. And so when you fully embrace this, then you stop fighting. And when you stop fighting, then you will have the allowance of the flow. And so this is spiritual warfare, but you want to allow the flow to go through you. I'm still working with this. I might create a full episode just on the allowance of flow, but I think that this can be helpful for some of you that are too tight. Some individuals are too uptight, and you can see it in their body language. You can see the pressure. And so some individuals just need to relax. And this goes into key number 5. You want to accept life and death. Some individuals hate life, and that is a tragedy. And for the individual that believes this or feels this way, I pray that for a brief moment that you could experience joy and love for a fleeting moment, if it's just for a quick second, because these things, these frequencies, these energies, they exist, and this can happen for you. But what modern society does for the individual is modern society wants the individuals to believe that they have to attain something, that they have to get something, that they have to be with someone, that their life has to be a certain way in order for them to feel these things, in order for them not to hate life. And so going to past episodes, I said that you can learn from all things in existence, but you already have everything at your hands that you need. Salvation is literally at your feet right now. But if you stay blind to it, you'll never experience it. And so individuals, they allow fear to control them because they aren't willing to accept that this is how life is. And if you never accept this, then you'll never step out. You'll always stay within that tight cocoon. You'll never walk out and really view the world, view the beauty. Like there's beauty in all things. Yes, even in suffering. And so you have to be willing to experience this life in its fullest. But if you never do this, you'll always stay a slave. And so this even goes to death. And some individuals, they're unwilling to even step forward and do certain things because that fear of death is always around their throat. And so there's certain individuals, the reason they're not willing to speak up to this person is because of this. The reason they're not willing to stand up for something that they know is right is because of this. The reason why they just give people power and they don't really do anything is because of this. And so when you're willing to accept these things, this gives you tremendous courage and bravery. And these things should be commended and not restricted. We need more individuals like this. It's because this is what stops human nature from running rampant. This is what stops the evil people from doing things, from destroying nature, from oppressing people, from putting toxic chemicals in your food, from getting over on people. This is what puts a stop to all of that. We need more courageous and brave people. But if you're unwilling to do these things, yes, America has done, and the Western world, no one's perfect, and no things are perfect. You have to accept that you are an imperfect being, and that imperfections are imperfect. But you can improve upon these things. And America is a great country for all its flaws. And the idea of it is tremendously crazy. And the fact that humans came together, if you look at all of human history and you see the suffering that humans have inflicted upon themselves and the wars and the tragedies, even though within America, I'm not talking about white people and black people, you have to transcend the notion of color. And once you transcend that and you just see the idea of it itself, then you're able to step back and you're able to be like, oh, okay. There's more going on than just my little ideology or my fear of being able to accept certain things. And with going into fitness, this is how it's laid out within the industry. Whatever is happening at the top, how you see at the top of society, usually trickles down to how it's happening at the bottom. The way you see politicians and Congress people and lawyers and these people arguing about their viewpoints and how they stand up for their side is the same thing you see going on the lower and on the other aspects of society. And so you see this and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Let me take a step back and let me not give into this. And then you're able to see way more that there is. I hope you guys have found this episode of tremendous value. Take all of these keys and truly use this to battle fear. Society is using fear right now to control and manipulate you, but you do not have to fall prey to it. You can regain that control, that sovereignty, that power, and reclaim authority over your life. The only thing you should really fear is God, because that's the beginning of all wisdom. And then from there, that's when some real magic can happen. And no, you guys aren't God. You are an aspect of all that is and all that is to be, that is infinitely expanding with infinite potential. You're not the one sitting on the throne. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. You all enjoy the rest of your day and stay blessed.